says, as the storm approaches, a large class who have professed faith in the third angel's message, but have not been what? Sanctified through what? Obedience to the truth, abandoned their positions, and joined the rank of the opposition. So here it is, church. There's going to be many who profess to believe this truth. There's going to be many who profess that they are part of this movement, but because they have not been obedient to what God says, they're going to stray away. They're going to follow the smooth, popular route. The route that everyone else is doing. But guess what? You see what's going on in the conference? With the NAD and the GC? All these things that are going on with the division and the disunity. Because we decide to, we want to follow our own ways and we want to do our own thing. This is the exact same reason why we're still here. And this is why we have to realize that we need to follow a new method. And I submit to you, the method that I'm presenting here is nothing new. It's old. But it's new because we haven't been doing it for so long of a time. Notice what it says, Medical Ministry, page 331. It says, when the cities are worked as God would have them, the result would be the setting and operation of a mighty movement such as we have not yet witnessed. You read it? It says, when the what? Cities are what? Worked as how? Then what's going to happen? The setting and operation of a what? You think Pentecost was big. When we follow God's plan, we're going to be greater than Pentecost, church. We're going to be doing a worldwide movement. But it's based off of the condition is what? As God would have us. We have come to a time when every member, notice, how many members? Every member of the church should take hold of what? Notice it says, it doesn't say every member should be a Bible worker, a pastor, a teacher, right? It doesn't say that, right? But it says every member should be what? Are we studying and learning the medical missionary work as we should, church? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. It says the world is a laser house filled with victims of both physical and spiritual disease. Everywhere people were perishing for lack of a knowledge of the truths that have been committed to us. The members of the church are in need of an awakening, that they may realize their what? Responsibility to impart these truths. Those who have been enlightened by the truth are to be light bearers to the world. To hide our light at this time is to make a terrible mistake. The message to God's people today is what? Arise and shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. See, we have to know the times that we're living in, church. We have to understand the times that we're living today. Because the time that we're living in today is calling forth of a new operation, a new method of working. We can't continue the same ways of working, church. The evangelistic series and all these different things that we are doing are not going to have the same effect and power if we were to follow God's instruction, incorporating the medical missionary work. It says what? Every church, notice it says how many? Every church should be a training school for Christian workers. Members should be taught how to what? Give Bible readings, how to conduct and teach Sabbath school classes, how best to help the poor, how to care for the sick, how to work for the unconverted. There should be schools of health, cooking schools, and classes in various lines of Christian health work. There should not only be teaching, but actual work on experienced instructors. Let the teachers lead the way in working among the people, and others united with them will learn from their example. One example is worth many than many precepts. Every church should be a training school. We are instructed. Every church. I don't know about your experience, but I know that the churches that I've been to, even my home church, we're not following this counsel. We're not following this His counsel as God would have us to. We're not doing schools of health and cooking schools and different classes of health work and learning how to minister to the needs of the people. We're not teaching these things, church. We need to follow what God has said and develop a new method of working. Notice it says Christ's methods alone will give true success. How did he work? It says, notice it says, Christ's methods alone will give what kind of success? True success. That's the qualifying word. True success. Now, we may be experiencing success or a level of success, but Christ wants to give us what kind of success? True success. It says, in reaching the people, the Savior what? Mingled with men as one who desired their good. He showed his sympathy for them. He ministered to their needs and won their confidence. And then what? What was the last thing he did? What's the first thing we do as a church? You know about the Sabbath? Here. Learn about the Sabbath. Read this, read this, read that. Right? That's the first thing we do. But if we follow Christ's methods, it says the first thing that he did was what? He showed his sympathy. Wow, you're going through a difficult time. I could see, I understand, I went through something similar. Right? He sympathized with their needs. Amen. He ministered to them. Oh, how can I help you? Right? If we were to spend more time thinking about how we can help our neighbors and those in our community, we will be more successful in this work. How can I help you? How can I meet your needs? Amen. If you see someone who's in need of some counsel on health or help in their home, help to clean, help with their children, how can I help you? Should be the question that we ask. Not so much, how am I going to teach this person the Sabbath? That's going to come. But we have to follow the right order. Amen? We have to follow it in the right order. Here, it goes on to say, once he done that, after he met their needs, did he say, follow me in? No. He had to what? Win their what? Confidence. In other words, they had to trust him. He was so connected to the people that they had trust in him. He was reliable. And brothers and sisters, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long to follow this method. Especially if some of us, we naturally have that kind of personality. You know, where we're warm and we're very inviting. And we need to use these gifts, church, and use it for the glory of God. And we can teach others how to develop those kind of skills. But in other words, Christ had to win their confidence, and then he said, listen, follow me. I'm the way, the truth, the life, and the victory. This is the method that we have to follow, church. This is the method that we have to follow. Not only this, she as I mentioned earlier, said that we need to follow the medical missionary, we need to all learn how to do the medical missionary work. And before I close this message, I'm going to give you some principles, and we're probably familiar with it, but I'm going to give you some text that helps you to see it in another light also, because we're going to, as we go on later on this day, we're going to talk about the 8 laws of health, right? And the acronym is God's plan. Right? And if we follow these 8 laws of health, I like to call them the 8 doctors, right? We're going to see that we can find them in the Bible. And as we follow this, we will actually minister as Christ. And we'll be able to help not only ourselves, but we'll be able to help others if we know that they're having any health issues, okay? And be able to win their confidence. Notice, in 1901, just giving you a little history here, 1901, S.N. Haskell and his team decided to follow the counsels of Ellen White. And they went to Columbus Circle. Who knows what Columbus Circle is? What's Columbus Circle? New York City. We're told that New York City is a symbol of how it should be a symbol. Right now it's not a symbol, but it should be a symbol of how the work should be done. How many people, you probably don't know, but there are a lot of people in New York City, amen? Amen. And there are many people from where? Different parts of the world. So if you do a great work in New York City, guess what? You're basically doing a great work all over the world, right? So we have to think wiser. So here it is. as in high school, he got a team of Bible workers, canvassers, and medical missionaries. And he went and they rented a place on 59th Street and 7th Ave, and they went to Columbus Circle, and they actually rented a hall, and they were doing some lectures at the Carnegie Hall, believe it or not. And in this team, what he did was he used a multifaceted approach. Bible work, canvassers, medical missionaries. He had the Bible work and the canvassers go out into the community, go door to door. Same thing with the medical missionary work. They were going door to door. They were helping people who were sick, and he was doing Bible studies every Friday night. Notice it said he captained a diverse force of workers in the country's metropolis. Set forth a plan for the comprehensive and well-articulated city campaign. It contained the following: that house-to-house literature work be conducted, opening doors for Bible studies by competent instructors, that health service and education be given through vegetarian restaurants, hydropathic treatment rooms, and lectures, that when the groundwork had been sufficiently done, there followed evangelistic meetings, that all these workers be united, and so far as feasible, resident in Central Workers School in charge of the director of the city. So here it is. They set forth a plan. They came together, they strategized, they set forth a plan, and basically the plan was, listen, we're gonna do house-to-house work. We're gonna provide health services, right? We're gonna go forward, and we're gonna lay this groundwork. In fact, they had a vegetarian restaurant in Brooklyn, and they used this as a center of influence. What did I say? Center of influence. And they had hydropathic treatment rooms and lecture hall, and they gave health lectures, okay? And once they laid the groundwork sufficiently and reached the people and mingled with the people, then what do you think they did? Then they did the evangelistic meeting. Are you with me, church? Then they did the evangelistic meeting. So here it is. They followed Christ's methods, and they did a great thing. It was so big that the newspapers were talking about it. It was something new. They never saw it before. Talked about Bible training, disciples, talking about the Haskell School at that time. And they were amazed that they were giving studies and doing health lectures and all these different things. They talked about, they had doctors and different people talk about the 8 health laws, you know, talking about fresh air and all these different things. Very powerful ministry. Here it is, the tabloid restaurant. They had a vegetarian restaurant at that time. And notice it was a center of influence. What is a center of influence? Basically, a center of influence is basically a place where people can go to receive treatment, you know, health services, restaurant, it could be a tutoring center, it could be many different things, but the point of a center of influence is to be a light in the community so that you will be able to reach many people. You provide a service or you meet a need, and they will come to you. And as they would come, you would show them and educate them not only in their need, but you will also lead them on a path to accept and understand the gospel as the Lord impresses. Right? This is what a center of influence is supposed to be, and this is what we're supposed to have in every community where our churches are. Every community. This was a big restaurant. Even I don't know if you know Nikola Tesla, the man who created not created, but he was very big in electricity and very wise guy. He was a vegetarian, and he went to this restaurant. God's people would be a light if we would only follow his plans and his methods. After this, J.H. Tyndall, in 1930, he decided to follow what Ellen White said, and what he did was he conducted health evangelistic series. And he was going in the communities and setting up these health evangelistic series, and he was teaching them on health and how to cook and how to eat. Not only so, he was so good at this that he went to businesses. And he was teaching businesses how to take care of their health and how to be more efficient in their businesses. Not only so, he went to police stations, And he was teaching the men there that if they would take care of the health, it would help them in their reaction time. They were doing a great work, church, and they were ministering to the needs of the whole community. They were reaching out to, they were joining hands or partnering with different people in the community and just doing a great work as God instructed them to do. It was said that Billy Sunday, the world-famous evangelist, was holding meetings in Oklahoma at the same time as Elder Pinnock. A local newspaper at that time put it this way: Sunday got the crowds, but Tyndall got the converts. You see, when we follow God's method, we're going to see a great movement. We won't have to work so hard to be able to lead people to Jesus. Notice what he said. To begin with, he stated that he always made it a point to try to prepare the church and the congregation because of the presence of what? Unconverted and backslidden members. Since he was convinced from the writings of Mrs. White and his own experience that God cannot work to bring new members into such churches without this necessary preparation. He then set about to prepare the public, and this was done by a number of means. It was by the use of health lectures to various organizations and groups, and he also used what? Cooking classes and treatments by the nurses and doctors in the company. And much of the time, a combination of all these methods were utilized. So this is what they were doing, church. This is what we can do here. This is what the church here can do, and do a great and mighty work to bring forth this great movement, this loud cry. But guess what? We have to follow the blueprint. We have to follow the plan. We have to follow the order. Notice, Tyndall was the one who trained W.D. Frazee. And W.D. Frazee was a great, I don't know if we know, do we know W.D. Frazee here? He was the one that trained W.D. Frazee in his methods. And W.D. Frazee, he was the one who founded Wildwood. And what he did was he formed a company, and it was Bible workers, nurses, call porters, mechanic, students, and basically they got together and they worked together in a unified way. And they were able to get 50 baptisms at the end of the year. Oh, notice, S.N. Haskell, when he did the work within 1 year, he was able to get over 100 baptisms following that method. You know, oftentimes we emphasize numbers, but if we follow God's way, the numbers will come, right? We just have to make sure we are obedient. And he used what? The gospel, medical missionary work. He gave treatment to the sick, distributed food and clothing to the poor, giving an instruction on hygiene, cooking, housekeeping, and other practical subjects, health lectures to clubs and schools, literature distribution. Brothers and sisters, we're not doing half of what these men and women were doing back then. The medical missionary is deeply interested in the relief of what? Human suffering. This is what Tyndall W. Frazee said. He started Wildwood. I don't know if we're familiar with that lifestyle center, but W.D. Frazee was the one who taught Mark Finley. Do we know Mark Finley? And Mark Finley, he did a similar work in the Southern New England Conference. And he did a program that consisted of a 3-month evangelistic thrust. It said that he did soul-winning classes, he did a training, they did field work, they divided the church into witnessing bands, and again, they used the health, they did surveys, right? And they talked about the health, and they ministered. It says, although we encourage each church member to participate, there are some who do not feel comfortable doing the door-to-door survey work. We encourage these to help us in some facet of medical missionary work. In our 5-day plans and nutrition classes, we need a solid core of helpers. Our basic philosophy is everyone cannot do everything, but everyone can do what? Something. Right? So here it is, they were doing this work. It says that after our initial 6-week thrust of training classes, health outreach programs, and personal work, we began the Radiant Living Seminar and Lecture Series. This 6 This week series begins each evening at 7:15 with a nutrition demonstration, health film or talk, or a presentation on the family. Listen, they were going full force with what God instructed them to do. And they were doing a mighty work.